Hey guys. So one of the things that I've been asked quite a lot recently is what I have been doing with my spare time while we are currently in a 4-week lockdown in the UK as a precaution, and I don't really know what else to call it, but it's basically just so that in theory we can have a decent normal Christmas with our families. So they put us in a 4-week preemptive lockdown. I'm hoping it works and that we can have a normal Christmas, but because my niece is reaching that age now where she's like 3 in 3 wow. So she's reaching that age where she's like aware of stuff and she's actually forming little sentences and getting a little personality, and I love it. So obviously I want to be there when she has like her first proper Christmas where she's aware of what's going on and she's going to be all excited and she knows what Father Christmas is and all of that fun stuff. So I really hope that this 4-week thing works and that we can have a normal Christmas, but we'll see. But yeah, obviously people are wondering what kind of stuff I do when I'm not at my part-time job, because I do my part-time job and I do this, and obviously I do stuff on my Instagram and whatever else. At the moment, obviously, my part-time job is closed because it's not classed as essential, which is fine because it's art-related stuff and like art supplies and that kind of thing, crafty things. So while we're closed for 4 weeks, I have been doing what most people do when they're not working and sitting at home. So yeah, some of the things that I get asked is what I do with my spare time, which I've said probably way too many times already in this video. And obviously they are standard stuff, which is play games and watch films. So I thought I'd just make a video about those two things. So I've tried to break it down into 5 of each of the top ones. Obviously films, a lot of people know that when it comes to films that I like to watch, I love, in general actually, not just films, music as well. I love nostalgic things that make me feel really nostalgic, remind me of better days, that kind of thing. So I think the most recent film in my top 5 is from like 2016. I'll double check that. So some of them are like early 90s. I think most of them are early 90s. And then, like I say, the newest one is 2016. I'm sure it was 2016. As for games, it's kind of, I have no idea when these came out. Maybe I'll check and put it somewhere on the screen. But yeah, they're not really what I would say are like standard films and games that people tend to come out with when they're asked what their favourite things are. I'm not saying that that's on purpose. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I only like stuff that no one's heard of. I'm not one of those. It's just by accident I just stumble across this stuff and I'm like, oh, I quite like that. Because I like weird, unique things. But to be fair, some of these games are really standard that loads of people have probably played and have heard of, and a couple of them maybe you haven't. So maybe check them out. Same with the films. I think I have one cult classic. What classes as a cult classic in my top 5. It was really hard, by the way, coming up with top 5 of either. If I had to do that with anything else, I think I would really struggle because I sat there for so long trying to figure out which films were going to go into my top 5 and which games were going to go into my top 5. So it's been very difficult for me, but I've done it for you. So, okay, as far as games, one of the main things I get asked is, am I a PlayStation girl? Am I an Xbox girl? I grew up with PlayStation. Like, the very first one was, like, amazing. Everyone loved it. I didn't have my own for a really long time because I was just a kid. But my sister's boyfriend at the time had one, and our favourite thing, our bonding time together, was playing games on the PlayStation together, and he would leave it at my sister's, which was our house, obviously. And me and my sister would also play some games together as well. But in recent years, I have dropped PlayStation. I haven't bought, like, I'm not one to buy a brand new console as soon as it comes out anyway. I've just never been like that. I'm like, I've got better things to spend my money on. Sorry. So my consoles are out of date, I think. Because I don't really keep up to date with it. So these games are probably old, and people are like, oh, there's been so many better games that have come out, but I don't really keep up with it. I don't feel the need when a new console comes out to be like, oh my god, I need that. Usually I will wait until a game has been out for a while as well before I buy it, because £50 or £60 on a game, I'm like, that's my food, that's my petrol, I ain't spending that. So I usually wait. And so my actual console that I play on the most is actually the Xbox 360. I still have the Xbox. I also have an Xbox One. But most of the games that I've got that are my favourite games are on the 360. So yeah, a lot of people are now like, oh, I've lost interest because I'm PlayStation all the way, or whatever. Sorry, I'm not. It just so happens that, like I say, the games that I've fallen in love with were on that console. I've played them around other people's houses, and it just always seems to be Xbox games that although I do really, I'll tell you what, when they reboot, if someone knows that this is happening, please let me know, because I haven't heard anything about it, but I'm waiting for this day. When they reboot, because they reboot Crash Bandicoot, and a couple of other really old games like Spyro and stuff like that. And they've tried to bring them back, and they've obviously done newer games and stuff. Where is Abe's Odyssey? I used to love that game. So when they reboot Abe's Odyssey, I will get a PlayStation, like an up-to-date PlayStation. I still have like my original PlayStation somewhere with a memory card in it, and I'm really excited to see if it still all works, because I'm sure that I've got Abe's Odyssey on there, and I really want to play it again because it was such a cool game. It was such a cool game. I loved that game. I spent all my time playing that game. Anyway, I digress. So with the Xbox 360, although one of these is an Xbox One, actually, I've just noticed. So 4 of them are 360 and one of them is One. My first game that I will hold up and say that I love to play was actually all of these games, but I did enjoy this one, and that is Tomb Raider. I grew up playing Tomb Raider on the PlayStation with my sister. That was one of the games that we used to play. There is another game in here that I actually used to play on the PlayStation, but it's now on Xbox. But yeah, Tomb Raider, I really enjoyed these, like how up to date they were and stuff, and like how they did it. Certain bits annoyed me a little bit, but on the like grand scale of things, I actually really enjoyed them. Like I say, the nostalgia from the original games and obsessively playing and completing every single Tomb Raider game that's ever existed is a thing that me and my sister have always done. And when this came out, and a couple of the other ones, we were like, we need to play this game, because that was totally something that we used to do all the time. I remember we skived off school a couple of times and just played Tomb Raider because we needed to get it finished. We were like, we need to complete this game. And so I've played and completed several times all of the Tomb Raider games. I love Tomb Raider. I love the Tomb Raider films. I don't really like the new one that came out. I'm gonna say it. I don't really like it. But then I am an Angelina Jolie fan, so I loved those two. Yes, the next one that I'll hold up is again something that I used to play on the PlayStation, and that is Tekken. Sorry if these are a bit dirty. They've been collecting dust on my side table. Because the actual discs are in like a pack. I just keep these because I'm a nerd and I like to collect the actual whole thing. Yeah, this one's Tekken 6. I just love Tekken games. I was obsessed with the first and second. I think I did like the third. I kind of lost interest after that a little bit because they went a bit weird. But I was the queen of Tekken, like, and I still am. Like, I'm just gonna say I am the queen of Tekken. If I play Tekken, I always win. Like, there's been maybe a handful of times, I think I played it with my ex, and he did beat me like 3 times out of the 20 that we played. Because I know my favourite characters tend to have the same moves in the games. They tend to, and I prefer it when they do, but then they add in, a couple of extras, because why change something if it's not broken? So yeah, certain characters in that. My favourite characters to play were always June, Nina. Sometimes I would play Angel from the second one, I remember. But not very often, because I kind of felt like it was cheating, because obviously she could fly and shoot a beam out of her, whatever this thing was. Was it like a headpiece? I don't know what it was. But yeah, I used to be really good at that. I love the ones with the combo kicks and punches. I love it, and I always win when I play those characters. So yeah, that's another game that I've been playing and will always play and complete. I think I've played it and completed it like 20 times per game because I just love it so much. Another one that I would recommend, following on from fighting games, which is the Xbox One that I have, which is Injustice. I had Injustice and Injustice 2. Obviously, I loved these. When they brought out Mortal Kombat vs. DC, I was like, please bring one out that is just DC heroes versus villains, and they did. They brought out Injustice, and I was like, yes. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the main reasons why I got a newer console. Like, why I bought my own, because when I broke up with my ex I lived with, he took the Xbox. So I lost all of my saved games, but it was fine because I love playing them, so I just replayed them and recompleted them. But yeah, I did end up getting my own one, so I could actually play this when it came out, the first one and the second one, because loves it. I just love it so much. I have lost a couple of times to this game, but only when my most recent ex would play like Superman or some shit and just keep zapping me before I could even get up because he's a cheater. Next game. Obviously, I love DC, by the way. That's why I love those games. I'm a big DC fan. Next game that I will hold up, I'm saving my absolute favourite for last. The next one that I would recommend is Alice, Madness Returns. This was a really good game. Like, I love these Alice games. They're based on the American McGee artwork and stuff and storyline of Alice, which is obviously really dark. She's obviously got black hair and looks like a goth. And the Cheshire Cat is just pierced and tattooed, which is just bizarre but weirdly works. And it's just a really dark, twisted game, and I love them so much. The doll babies that you have to fight against that have like oil slick and stuff all over them kind of creep me out, not gonna lie. But they're really good games. I have played this and completed it so many times. I just love it so much. It's just such a weird, wonderful concept. And obviously she's in an insane asylum at some point, and you don't know whether it's like her world or whether it's in her head. Same way as the film, obviously you don't really know, and the book, you don't really know. And then my final one that I will tell you about is my absolute favourite. I did mention it on Instagram the other day, so I thought I need to do that in a video, and that is Lollipop Chainsaw. And I know that some people are going to be like, I fucking love this game. It is so me to a T. Obviously she's just like this cute anime cheerleader, typical. There's a few upskirt shots, so for all you guys out there that love your anime babes with, upskirt shots, you'll love this game. It's very bubblegum, because obviously she's a cheerleader and she's like, oh my god. So when I first put it in and I started playing it, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this game. She's kind of annoying. And then it had Joan Jett on the soundtrack, and I was like, I'll give it a shot because I do love me some Joan Jett. And then, yeah, it's actually quite gory, hence why it's an 18. Because you are hacking zombies to pieces with a chainsaw as a high school cheerleader. because why not? And yeah, killing zombies to Hey Mickey is a surreal experience, and I was laughing hysterically and like a psycho when I was playing it, because I was like, this is so much fun. Something I never thought I would do, but it was so much fun. So yeah, I've played this so many times, and I've completed it and got all the different endings, because there are different endings. Obviously, you get like the good ending, the bad ending, and the yeah, would totally recommend that. If you love your anime, bubblegum stuff, and if you love gore, and if you love killing zombies, I would totally recommend that game. It's just, I love it so much. And there's even bits where you get to play like old arcade style games, and stuff turns into like really neon rainbow psychedelic, and oh my god, I just love it so much. It's really out there, but I love it. Like I said, it's weird, I like it. Right, on to films. First one that I will hold up that is definitely a favourite, which might surprise some people, I don't know. It's actually a Johnny Depp film, but it's one that no one really seems to remember, and I don't know why, because it's the only film, other than obviously Edward Scissorhands, because he was just a little sweetie in Edward Scissorhands. It's the only film where I've really liked Johnny Depp. Like, his character, should I say, not him. Because he's just not really my thing. I've not got anything against him. He's just not really my thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, his character in this film, his character's called Sam. I want my own Sam. He's just so cute and lovely. Anyway, it's Benny and June, and I fucking love this film. One of the reasons why I love it is because she's actually, I think it's not really said, I don't think, but she basically kind of has bipolar, I think. So she's a little bit kooky. And yeah, her brother, it's just her and her brother. And then she meets him. I think she wins him in a poker game, because no one seems to want Sam, because he can't read or write. So he just kind of drifts. And it's kind of sad that no one wants him. And his, like, I think it's his cousin or something, or his uncle is like, oh, you can win him, like, just take him off my hands, I can't be doing with him. So she wins him as like a nanny, as it were, or a manny, as he calls it. And he's a little bit kooky as well, and I just love it, because he's like, I don't know, he's into like his old school slapstick and stuff like that, and he's just off the wall, and he's got his little hat and his little cane. And there's just a bit where she's put into like, not really an asylum, but like a home. And he tries to get her attention by swinging past her window on a window cleaning thing with his hat, and he's like, hi. And I was just like, he's so sweet. I love him so much. And yeah, one of the opening lines after she sees him, she drives past him and he's up in a tree. And then the second time she sees him, he's up in a tree. So then the third time she sees him, she's like, oh, you're out of your tree. And for some reason it just really made me laugh, because it was kind of a joke on the fact that, yeah, he's a little bit out of his tree. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favourites. Would recommend for feel-good times. And a bit of Johnny Depp when he had his long hair and was a heartthrob. My second one that I will hold up, that again will surprise a lot of people, but I have loved this film since I was a teenager. When did this come out? 95. Was I a teenager? I don't even know. I'm not even going to do the math, because I don't want to. Anyway, I was a child, and I think this was my first Angelina Jolie film, and I just fell in love. I was like, little her so much, she's so pretty. Yeah, and that is Hackers. Now, a lot of people didn't like this film, because obviously it's not realistic to actual hacking, because hacking is incredibly boring. It's just code. No one wants to watch that. So yeah, there is a bit of like, you know, a bit of play on it, in the fact that they made it look really interesting, and it looks like, you know, electricity going everywhere on the screen, and, you know, when he's hacking into the files, you know, they've made it look really cool, because that's what you did back then for films. You know, they probably wouldn't bother with it now, but back then it was just the done thing. It didn't matter if it didn't make sense and it wasn't realistic. It was just, it made it cool, okay? Don't judge. But I love this film purely for nostalgic reasons. I know it word for word because I've seen it so much. And if I'm ever sad or like whatever, I can always put this on because I just love it so much. The next one that I will tell you about is obviously Fifth Element. That had to be in here. I love this film so much. I love the fashion in it because obviously it's based in the future, so everything's very cyber. And when I was a kid, I was obsessed with the shop Cyberdog. Still kind of am. Still love that fashion. It's just crazy cyber fashion, and I just love that shit. Neon colours, clashing colours, stuff that just looks off the wall and weird. I'm like, yes. It has got Bruce Willis in it, and Mila Jovovich, which most people cannot pronounce. And yeah, the classic film where she's got white blonde roots and orange hair, which was a style choice, and weirdly she pulls it off. Because why not? I love this film. I really do. Again, a lot of people will probably be like, it's not very realistic. It's based in the future. It's sci-fi. Get a grip. It's a good film. Another one that is my favourite. I'm probably going to save... No, I'll save this one for last because it's the cult classic. I have to save that for last. My next one is very much just a little bit of self-indulgence for reasons. And that is Safe Flight. No particular reason why I love this film. It is an Evan Peters film. I love him so much. He's just a big crush of mine. Like, one of my only crushes that I have. I only have two, and he's definitely one of them. Yeah, this came out in... This is the one that is the most recent out of these. I think. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's just a really cute film. He's just so cute in it. He's like kind of down on his luck, teen boy. He's got like a limp, so he gets made fun of and bullied at school, but he's really into photography, and he meets this girl, and she kind of likes him, kind of. But they kind of left it on a weird note, like, were they friends? Were they in a relationship? They kind of just left it as like they were friends, and I was like, why couldn't she just be with him? So that bit upset me. But the rest of the film is just really sweet, and they just go travelling around, and he's taking pictures of lighthouses for a project at his school with his brother's camera because his brother passed away, and it's just really sweet, and he's just so cute. And I just, I mean, it's got Evan Peters in it, what more do I have to say? I love him so much. And yeah, he's actually a sweetie in this film because obviously most people that know Evan Peters knows him in American Horror Story, and he always plays a psycho or a accidental murderer, and he does it, and he just kind of makes you fall in love, and it's like, oh no. I think that's where my penchant for liking psychos comes from. No, it's just because he's hot and he plays a good psycho. And he's dark and brooding, and we all know I love a dark and brooding man. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favourites. And then the last one is a cult classic that surprisingly, although it's a cult classic, a lot of people haven't heard of it. And granted, it turned into kind of they tried to turn it into like a franchise. So there's quite a few, I think, at least 4 or 5 of these films. I would not recommend watching any of them past... the second one was okay. After that, do not watch these films. But obviously you cannot beat the original film, and that is The Crow. Brandon Lee's last ever film, because unfortunately he did die while filming this film, and they decided to finish it off, and I'm so glad that they did because it is such a beautiful film. I love the comic. I have it as a hardback. The whole concept of it, of being wronged, being killed, or you and a loved one being killed in a senseless act of violence, and the crow coming and waking you up from the dead and making you invincible so you can get revenge is just... it's such a good film. Obviously he does so well in it. The makeup in it, the lines, the clown mime and the little painted on smile. I fell in love with that because how relatable is that? Like, not just for women, but for men too. Because, you know, we all paint on a smile when we need to, even if we're really dying inside and we're really upset and we've, you know, gone through some tragedy. We all paint on a smile at some point. And it was just that whole aspect of it, of him being like a jester and a mime while he's like killing these people that killed him and his fiance, avenging their death, mainly hers. I just fell in love with it, and obviously there's some really awesome bits in it. I know this word for word as well. And just his whole jester attitude. Obviously, this is way before like anything to do with the Joker was a thing, and a part of me does think that some of the stuff to do with the Joker is loosely based on these characters because they are supposed to be very like jester-like when they come back. Hence the makeup that they paint on, like a smile, even though they're dying inside. Like, well, they're dead, but you know, they're heartbroken. It's just such a, I don't know, I just love this so much, like the whole concept. The second one is decent. The acting in it isn't great. The storyline is really good. I would be careful if you watch it. Obviously, these are classed as an 18 because of the violence. The second one, I felt like they pushed that 18. They were like, it's an 18, so we can get away with, you know, sex and violence. So they just went ham on it. And that was like a father-son thing, so it's a little bit of a touchy subject. They, like I say, they did go all out on it. They were like, well, it's an 18, so yeah, kid dying is always a little bit of a touchy subject to put in a film, but they went with it, and I thought the storyline was good for that. But because that is like, it wasn't just another, you know, guy and his girlfriend, it was like a father and a son. It was like, because that's dark. So yeah, I liked it for that, but some of the acting in it is chronic. It's got Iggy Pop in it. I'm not really too sure why, but it does. But anyway, yeah, I love this film so much. It did get really good reviews, not just because he passed away while filming it. He did accidentally get shot in one of the scenes. Obviously, they didn't leave that scene in, and some of the scenes that are in it were test shoots. So if you really analyse it, you can see that he's not wearing his makeup in some of the shots. But does it matter? Not really. They put it together because it was like a tribute to him. It was his last film. And I'm so glad they did because it's such a beautiful film and I love it so much. I just really do. Yeah. I highly recommend this if you haven't seen it. It's just a beautiful love story and it's obviously quite dark. Lots of murders happen. Weirdly enough, one of the bad guys in this is actually the same guy from Hackers. There's a guy in Hackers who's in this. So I don't remember his name, but he's definitely in it. I know his name in Hackers, and obviously in this film, but I don't know his actual name. Sorry. But yeah, they are my top 5 films and games. There's so many others that I love. But I thought those ones were ones that people may not have necessarily heard of. So I thought like it would be cool to show those, so if people want to check out that kind of stuff, they can, because you might like it, you know, or even if like you did see it a long time ago, like in the 90s, and you haven't seen it since, like it's an excuse to go back and watch it, because we all have a bit of nostalgia. Let's be honest. I am definitely one for nostalgia. So yes, that is how I spend most of my time rewatching films that I love from the 90s. I didn't mention like I say, I tried to choose ones that I love that are not necessarily ones that people would instantly think of. Like obviously I love like Ghostbusters and stuff like that, but everyone knows about Ghostbusters, you know, even if they only know about it through the new films because they're too young to remember the originals. Like everyone knows about Ghostbusters, and you know, like some Tim Burton films as well. Like, people just know about them, I feel like. Whereas those ones, I think a lot of people probably haven't even heard of them and don't even know they exist. So I thought I'd share those with you. Yes, if you like this video, obviously give it a thumbs up, all that jazz. If you're lurking, subscribe, because I see you, and you should subscribe, because I don't always post when I post a video. If I do a little stupid one, like the Instagram one that I did, where the reasons why I don't answer my messages on Instagram, it's kind of a joke video, but it's technically true. It was satire, shall we say. I don't post when I upload those, they're just on my channel. So if you're not subscribed, you will not know that I've done that. If I choose not to share them, because I will do that sometimes. I am trying to add my videos to playlists. I don't know if I've mentioned that. I've got one that's all my videos, and then I'm trying to separate them into other playlists as well. So it makes it a bit easier. Anyway, yeah, so if you guys know any of these films as well, like, let me know in the comments, because I'm interested to know how many people remember these films and also love these films, despite the fact that, like, some people that, like, younger people now that would watch it would be like, I don't like it, it's not realistic enough, or, oh, that's ridiculous, and stuff like that. And it's like, films aren't always supposed to be realistic, you know what I mean? They're just not supposed to be. We'll call it artistic flair, like, just doing it for the sake of art, you know? I don't know. I just prefer them. I just prefer the older films when they used to do stuff like that. I don't really like to just continuously watch stuff that's really realistic, and, you know, I've always been a bit of a sci-fi fan, but I also like the old school films because there was, like, always a little element of sci-fi in it, even if it wasn't technically a sci-fi film. Like I said, Hackers technically it wasn't a sci-fi film because hacking is a real thing, but there was kind of an element of it because it was like, that's not, especially back then, that is not what hacking was like. The computers were not that good back then. So, yeah, don't rip them apart too much. Just watch them and just enjoy them for what they are. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.